hard. We know mindsets are hard. So we shifted directions for today based on that and wanted to really give you some tools and ways of thinking when you are working with staff members around that topic. And it can look different, but we felt like this was going to be a valuable use of our time today. And I'm going to try to get through what could probably be a week-long session in 20 minutes because there's so much with this topic is so encompassing. So, kind of focusing on that transforming mindsets, shifting beliefs to strengthen school-wide behavior initiatives. So today's objectives are going to be really to describe the relationship between beliefs and behaviors, examine the impacts of staff mindsets on behavior supports, and then identifying some strategies to reframe how the staff perceives behavior and maybe responds to it. So we're going to start with an activity, and it's going to be a word cloud. So the next slide is going to have the word cloud for you. But we have this great magic machine, AI machine, that's going to create us a robot. And this robot enables the perfect belief system when addressing contextually inappropriate behaviors and implementing Tier 1 MTSS for behavior. So all the work we're doing, think about everything that you're doing back at your school with our meetings and with what you're taking back from our trainings. And I want us to think about if we were making a robot that was the perfect person to take the work that we're doing, what would be the beliefs and the mindset and the attitudes that that person would have around this work? So here you can do it from your phone, or that you can do slido.com and use that link or those numbers. And just what beliefs and attitudes would you program into a machine for the perfect staff mindset around MTSS for behavior? So give you a couple of minutes and they should, if it's working like it should pop up for us on here. I see two people participating. Oh, encouraging, everyone can succeed. Yes. Teamwork, empathetic, yes. Behavior is a skill, it takes a village. These are so good. Equity, change is possible. Yes. Behavior is a form of communication. These are so good. Open-mindedness, collaboration, strength finding rather than deficit focused. I see that, Catherine. Compassion. I see some people are typing in the chat, and that's fine too if you're not able to get onto our Slido. Collaboration is big coming in, encouraging. But let's see. Change is possible through empathy, awareness, lead with love. Oh, I love these. Open, being open. That's so good. Suspend certainty. Progress, not perfection. I love that. Open-minded, aware, unconditional, positive regard for students of all the time. Yes, all the time. That's big too. Strength focus. Teachers have agency. Yes, that's so good. Behavior is a form. Let's see. I'm seeing new ones. Understanding. These are good. Skills must be taught. Yes. Just like academics, right? Yes. More than one way to get where you want to be. That's really good, Catherine. Yes. Yes. So these are really good. And I think that as we move into today, I want to think about ourselves and our teachers and how we can get them to embellish these mindsets and beliefs and attitudes around this work, right? Really thinking about what this looks like for this work to work. And then skills must be modeled by more capable others. Yes, very good. These are good. Patience. And you can see here the ones that are big. That's what I love about a word cloud, are the ones that you see the most. And it's cool because if you look around, you see other ones that align to these as well. As far as open-mindedness, really good. All right, so as we move into today, if my slide deck will move on. So we want to talk about why mindset matters and thinking about the power of beliefs, right? So staff beliefs and attitudes towards student behavior act as hidden but powerful catalysts. And that's one of those things that sometimes it's like subconscious. Like I might be frustrated. I've been teaching middle school for how many years, and middle schoolers have that attitude. And I might have an underlying frustration and belief that I don't realize I have at this point because of being frustrated with seeing the same behaviors. I would think that I am, real positive and believe in their abilities to change their behaviors, but my actions and subconscious beliefs might not represent that. So really just knowing that, there are hidden, sometimes people don't realize where their beliefs have gone because of being in the field longer, because of, the exhaustion we feel. Teachers' plates are full, right? And whenever the more we have on our plates, the more it affects our own state of being with, being in the classroom or working with students. So, and those attitudes and beliefs can encourage or discourage the adoption of MTSS for behavior. So as we're doing this work, those underlying beliefs have a direct impact on it. And so kind of thinking if the mindset is the student is just defiant, that could lead to the results of behavior going straight to punishment and frustration, right? Like, oh my gosh, this student doesn't want to learn, so I easily shut down when I'm working with that student. However, if I think about it differently and shift that to the student's missing a skill, how can I help them? That's going to shift my framework for how I respond to that as well. So really thinking about the power in the way you look at something, the perception and the belief you have behind it. Same thing with the work we're doing. If we look at it like, hey, this is just one more thing on my plate, MTSS-B, like it's just another thing that I'm being expected to do, that checkbox mentality, then there's gonna possibly be that resistance or treating it that way. Okay, I'm gonna do what they asked me to do and move on. However, if we can get the mindset of, hey, this strong tier one in the work we're doing is gonna make my classroom and my day run more smoothly, then they may be more eager to focus on those practices and gain what you're offering them with it. So kind of really understanding that beliefs are the roots from which our behaviors grow. This is Alina Aguilar. A lot of what we talk about today, we're actually as a team doing a book study on her book, Arise. And we had it, that's almost what kind of got us to switch our topic was the chapter we just read. We're just in the beginning phases, but how much it aligned to our conversations with y'all and the work we're doing. So a lot of this today is going to come through her book and some of her resources as well as others. Um, so really thinking about ways of being and beliefs. So we respond in accordance with our beliefs and ways of being, right? So if we believe that students can learn behaviors, we're going to respond by teaching them. However, if we believe behaviors are innate, we're going to respond with punitive consequences. And I think understanding also that a belief is not a truth. A belief is just an opinion, even though sometimes it feels like our truth and it feels very factual. But going back to the core understanding that belief it's an opinion. And I think that probably could be publicized everywhere right now. This probably could go everywhere for everybody on social media right now whose beliefs are facts, right? But it becomes we become passionate about our beliefs and really making sure we think about that. Um, and also whenever we're looking at this, thinking about our robot, circling back to that robot we just created, which mindset do we want to see with them? Um, but I think this also goes to us in our roles as coaching this work and leading this work. If we believe staff members are willing to learn new strategies and make changes, we're going to coach them around the practices thoroughly. We're going to go into it with the mindset of they want this and I'm going to provide them with the best I can. However, if we believe staff members don't want to learn or embrace the change, and we already have our minds made up, our staff are not interested in this, it affects how we approach that as well. So I think, one big step one for us, and this includes ourselves with the Basque team, is do a good amount of self-exploration and thinking about unpacking our own behaviors, beliefs, and ways of being, and around the people we're coaching as well as the students, right? It's easy for us to be like, hey, we're trying everything, but they just don't want it. Well, let's examine that belief, which takes me into the next slide and really identifying the beliefs of our staff. Our own beliefs about our staff's beliefs cannot shape decisions. We need to know their beliefs, right? How are we truly how are we truly getting to know what they believe around behavior, what they believe around student learning, and what they believe around MTSS, right? If we can feel that, we might have perceptions, but there are tools I'm about to share with you that could be surveys you do, or you could even pull a few questions from the surveys to survey and get feedback. Um, but just making sure that like as a team, as you're discussing, like, hey, we're doing this work, here's how our people are feeling, making sure that you're having the conversation, how do we know our people are feeling this and what do we have to support that? Because it'd be very easy for us and for myself, I was in admin and we did staff capacity training. And I can remember feeling like my perception was like they weren't interested, but the feedback we ended up getting was phenomenal, and I had to check myself. So really just making sure that when we have our beliefs about our staff, that we're having the facts to back that up. And then once we identify those beliefs, we can then start working on shifting them. So kind of checking ourselves, and we believe that people can change, right? We believe people don't need to be fixed. That was a hard thing. When I became an instructional coach, that was one of the hardest things is teachers, having the mindset of like, I'm here to fix this teacher. No, 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 no. I'm here to support this teacher and provide them with resources to help better them, but not to fix them, right? And then knowing that coaching can make an impact, what you're doing you can make a difference. And then really knowing that beliefs can be shifted, if they're not set in stone. And then kind of this is the image that Alina Aguilar uses with knowing that your ways of being and your beliefs, in the middle, you have your behaviors. They literally come straight from that. So here are a couple of tools that we have linked. We have a slide at the end that have resources as well as a folder, but these are just a couple. You can find many. But these are good tools that are like surveys that you could do and use to really get perceptions about the beliefs that your staff has around behavior, around students, and even around this work, right? Around what MTSS can do for them. Um, the couple of them are long. It could be where you pick a section that you want to focus on right now and get perceptions around that, just so that when you're going back to your people, you can say, I know for a fact that these are our beliefs, and here's how we're going to work with that. Because moving forward and trying to shape beliefs that you have no evidence that are the beliefs that are happening is not going to get you very far. Especially because you might be surprised at what you find out. They might believe it, but they don't realize. Again, those underlying, and like they said in that first slide, like sometimes they're subconscious, like they don't realize they have them, but doing that survey might bring things to light for them as well. So thinking about so now we've got this information, so we've done our survey and we know some of the beliefs that we have. Then it's going to come into setting up the conditions for which beliefs change, because it's not easy, especially if someone's got these deep-rooted beliefs. So knowing that the conditions for it they need to have a safe environment and trust those around us. And that safety is the culture, right? The culture of your school to say, hey, I have believed this, but I feel safe in admitting that and fixing that. Like I feel like not fixing, but like shifting my mindset. Because I feel like I can think about myself and some shifts I've had as I've grown, and I've had people that I can have conversations with, like, hey, I had this underlying belief that like I can't believe I had, but I'm so glad I've got people in my life now that I've learned from and can grow from that. And that's a safe place to be. And so you want to make sure that the culture of like your team meetings and when you're pulling your people in, that it really feels that way for them. And then understanding how a belief was created, like maybe getting to the root of it. Like, hey, where did that come from? Um, Encountering that new information, having, information, like I really think about, we did a lot of like creating a sense of urgency in our presentations. And I think having that with them, like, hey, this many students, in this survey, because I think there's like a climate survey, or what does the data say the students want and need to be successful? And hey, like they actually want this, but they're not feeling that safety either. So having, some information that can support that. And then knowing that alternate beliefs exist. And I think that's another one. And I think having conversations, again, sometimes those underlying beliefs, talking with other people and hearing other perceptions are really powerful in that. I think a lot goes back to the core identity and the core values being preserved. One of the links that I have coming up is going to be another tool from Alina Aguilar that's like preserving core values in coaching conversations and really thinking through when you're having a conversation with somebody. And it actually has an activity where you do an activity with your staff about identifying what are your three core values? If you had three words that represent your core values, have them do that. So then when you approach them in conversations, you know those and you can circle back. Hey, I see that you reacted this way. Let's look at your core values. Where does that fit? She's got a great tool for that. It's linked as well. And then seeing the benefits to changing a belief. And that's where I go back to thinking about you get into education for the students, right? If I shift my mindset around this work to see the benefit it's going to have on the students, that could help shape the beliefs as well. So really letting them see and know like the benefits and how it's going to make their lives easier, kind of like that tier one. Tier one systems are going to, at the end of the day, really have a positive impact on your classroom atmosphere or around the school atmosphere, and really helping them to see the benefits that that change can have. So shifting mindsets, really thinking about some actionable steps is kind of encouraging that reflection. Asking teachers, how do you want students to experience your classroom? Or if you want to go a little bit further with the reflecting, if a student described your approach to behavior, what would they say? What would you want them to say? Right? Like if someone's if you have a student, because we know students are pretty blunt in giving their feedback, right? If you want some real feedback, have your students give you some feedback. But letting them, ask them if they were to describe your approach to behavior or to the classroom, atmosphere, what are they going to say? What would you want them to say? How does that compare? Promote a coaching mindset, help the teachers or staff members to see themselves as behavior coaches, not just rule enforcers, right? I think that's where we sometimes, and I think a big one we think about is like, um, they know they come in, they know to sit down and be quiet. Well, let's teach them what that looks like. Let's coach them in that work. Same with like I think about sports. If a student comes to a sport playing tennis and they're I don't know why I picked tennis because I was on the team, but I was not good at it. So I'll do basketball. It's time for free shots. And they're up there and they're holding the ball this way instead of this way. You're coaching them. This is a problem. It's not going to be successful. Maybe sometimes if they shoot this way, but you got to coach them in that. The same with their classroom behaviors as well, right? Really looking at what that could look like to help them be successful when they take that shot or, when they're entering your classroom. Validate their efforts. I think this is so important. And I go back to, I got my endorsement in coaching. And I think and I've said it to y'all, I know in our in-person training, but assuming positive intentions for one, I think that helps me in validating efforts and reinforcing their progress over perfection and knowing that it takes time, like we're working at this. Encourage curiosity over judgment, really modeling what's missing instead of what's wrong. Like, what's wrong? What are we doing wrong? No, really looking at like, hey, the student made a mistake or they made this decision. How, like, what's missing? What decision should they have made? And how can we coach them to that decision next time? And then I think this one is huge, and I think it is huge as being a human being, much less a coach in any work. But listen to hear, then respond. I feel like that was one of the things that I always felt like when I was working with like coaches or with admin, I could tell when they were listening to me and the whole time they were waiting for me to stop talking so they could speak and share what they needed. Like I did not feel listened to. And I think that like I picked up on it and it affected how I received any feedback they gave me. So really being intentional with ourselves when we're talking with them and with people to listen to their concerns, listen to how they're feeling about the situation, listen to the depth of their beliefs, hear their concerns or hesitations, and then respond with that compassion and empathy to their true concerns, not to your perceptions, not to what they triggered in the beginning of the conversation that you were ready to say. Like they said this one thing and you can't get past that one thing to hear the rest of them because you want to respond to that. Like just be very mindful of that because it's something that we all pick up on. And then know that suggestions are only going to be received if they feel heard. And so here are a couple of tools, and I think I keep putting a robot here because I want to keep that really at the forefront of our planning as we think about this and shifting those beliefs to what we want the beliefs to be, but knowing it's a process and you've got to have the right environment to get there. So we've got the Florida PBIS project has a really great resource that's linked on the resources slide that has like a list of strategies for alliance building, talking so people will listen. It's like several different categories of strategies you can use. And then I did link in a couple of Christina Aguilar's resources as well around doing this work. And really just this is such a deep topic. Again, I'm giving you a 20-minute overview, but um, but this, we could literally spend days on this topic and we could go so deep with it. And it's something that we could further conversations with for sure. But we felt like today empowering y'all with some tools and resources and really letting y'all oh, this isn't updated. I'll update it with the newer, it doesn't have the Aguilar resources, but I'll make sure that it's there. I'll update the links now. But we just wanted to empower you with some resources and some different thoughts around it and really thinking about how buy-in is much deeper in that the mindset and the beliefs and underlying beliefs really impact that. So to get the true buy-in around behavior and around this work, you have to start with those beliefs and really knowing where everyone, your people's beliefs are, and then knowing how to approach it from there. So I stuck to the 20 minutes. I'm shocked. I feel like I just kind of, but if anyone has any questions or needs anything, this can be the time for any questions or thoughts. I feel like that was a heavy topic, but I feel like it's good information, especially with the resources.